Hi everyone, good evening. Sorry, I forgot to get the time changed from the tech team. And I think because I own the app, so it shows me the access of all the times on my dashboard. But it didn't show for you. I forgot about that. Okay, shall we wait for 2 more minutes for the rest of the students if anybody is joining? Otherwise, let's start. Let's start. If anybody else has to join, they will join. Right. So let's start with ECGs. So I have divided ECG and arrhythmias into 2 days. Right. So what we'll do today is learn all the basics. Why we are getting these kind of waveforms, how arrhythmias happen, what exactly are the arrhythmias, and how to figure out from ECGs what arrhythmia is happening. All of that comes with the basics of ECG only. So I've clubbed that in today's class. And tomorrow we will discuss the ECG atlas that I've shared in the morning along with other ECGs that I have added today that we see in different clinical settings. And of course, atrial fibrillation is an important topic. So we'll discuss that tomorrow. Okay, so today we will be discussing about the normal measurements, the waveforms, the cardiac cycle, how which waveform correlates with which part of cardiac cycle, which phase of cardiac cycle, what are the different morphologies of waveforms or intervals, and what are the basics and types of arrhythmias. Okay, so let's start with our class for today. First of all, we should know that an ECG paper has some basic measurements on it, right? So we should be aware of those measurements. What are these measurements? So first of all, you should know that there are very small sized squares, which we call as small squares on an ECG paper. And then there are big squares, right? There is a big square, large square, which we call as a large square. So one large square consists of 5 small into 5 small, total of 25 small squares, right? Each large square consists of 25 small squares. Now we know that on an ECG paper, the x-axis tells us about the time in milliseconds or seconds, and the y-axis tells us about the voltage or the amplitude of the waveform, right? Now on the x-axis, what is the measurement or how much time corresponds to one small square and how much time corresponds to one large square? That is important. So one small square consists of 0.04 second. 0.04 second. Since one large square consists of 5 small squares, so one large square will be equivalent to 0.2 second. 0.04 into 5 is 0.2 second. Now, what will be 1 second? What will be 1 second? 1 second will be 5 large squares, right? 0.2 into 5 is 1, right? So 5 large squares or 25 small squares constitute 1 second, which means that the speed of the paper is 25 millimeters per second. Okay, so 25 small squares, because each square on a paper, if we look at the length, each small square consists of 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter length, 1 millimeter horizontally. So 25 millimeter per second speed is obtained by combining these 5 large squares in 1 second. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये कि each second 25 millimeter of ECG paper comes out of the ECG machine. Each second, in 1 second, 25 millimeter of that ECG paper is coming out of the machine. If these 5, now let's look at it in reverse. So how you can figure it out in your exam, or in case in future you have not revised it, how can you remember that? So just remember the speed of the paper. You will remember the rest of the, you will be able to remember the rest of the measurements. How? So let me show you. If the speed of the paper is 25 millimeter per second, and one small square, we know that one small square measures 1 millimeter, and one large square consists of 5 small squares. इतना तो हमें हमेशा याद रहेगा ना, इसके लिए we don't need revision. We know that the speed of an ECG paper is 25 millimeter per second. One small square is 1 millimeter. One large square consists of 5 small squares. Right? इतना हमें हमेशा याद रहेगा. Now, how to figure out the seconds or the timing thing? Now, if in 1 second we are getting 25 millimeter, which means that in 1 second we are getting 25 small squares. हमारे पेपर की कितना पार्ट जा रहा है? 25 small squares, which constitutes to around 5 large squares. So if in 1 second we are getting 5 large squares, what will be the time in which we get 1 large square? 5 large squares in 1 second. So 1 large square in 1 by 5 second, which will be 0.2 second. वहीं पे आ गए हम 0.2 second पे, right? This is how we got 0.2. Now, what about the small squares? What about the small squares? Now, 1 large square consists of 0.2 second, which means that 5 small squares are getting out in 0.2 second. So what about 1 small square? 1 by 0.2. How much will that be? 0.04. Right? So that will be 0.04 second. So just remember, 1 small square constitutes 0.04 second in time. 1 large square constitutes 0.2 seconds in time. And 1 whole second requires 25 small squares or 1 large square on the paper. Got it? Easy to remember or easy to figure it out? Okay. So most of you get confused in this, timing and the length thing. So that's why I told you this. Now, second is voltage. Our y-axis is giving us the voltage. Now, 1 small square gives us, again, the length is 1 millimeter. But if we talk about voltage, it is giving approximately 0.1 millivolt. Right? 0.1 millivolt. Which means that 5 small squares will be 0.5 millivolt. Which means that for 1 millivolt of voltage, we need at least, for 1 millivolt of voltage, we need 10 small squares or 2 large squares. इसमें एक ही चीज याद रखनी है. 1 small square equals to 0.1 millivolt in y-axis and 0.04 second in x-axis. ये क्लियर है सबको? वोल्टेज और टाइमिंग का कोई इश्यू नहीं है, कोई पंगा नहीं है, ये क्लियर है ना? 1 small square equals to 0.1 millivolt on y-axis or 0.04 second on the x-axis, and you please memorize that 1 large square consists of 5 small squares and the speed of the paper is 25 millimeter per second. इतना ही याद रखना है, rest you will be able to figure out. ठीक है, वो आप figure out कर लोगे. Why is this important? Because when we talk about prolonged PR interval, so it's not like we keep a scale in our pocket and measure on an ECG paper. When we say prolonged PR interval, we know 0.12 seconds is zyada, right? How much is 0.12 second? 3 times of 0.04, which means 3 small squares. So when I look at an ECG and I want to look at PR interval, I just look at the small squares. If the PR interval goes beyond 3 small squares, I know that it is prolonged. If it is less than 2 small squares, I know it is shortened. Do you get my point? That's why we know we have to know this axis, measurements and everything. Because now we know if QTC is 440 millisecond, how many squares are we looking out for? Right? How many small squares are we looking out for? Okay. So 1 small square, 0.04 second, 0.1 millivolt, y-axis, x-axis. किसी भी point पे आपको doubt होगा, do ask me. है ना? I don't want you to ratify ECG. I want you to understand ECG. बहुत डिटेल में नहीं करना है. आपके एग्जाम के लिए आपको bare minimum करना है, not just for your exam. These are the basics that you can live throughout your clinical life. है ना? Until unless you are a cardiologist, तब तो आपको strain pattern और पता नहीं क्या क्या पता करना पड़ता है. But otherwise, there are very few ECGs, patterns and basics that you need to be aware of. ठीक है, वो पता होना चाहिए, तो पता चल जाता है कि ECG is normal or not. Okay? And if you are a cardiologist, of course, you're going to learn it for 3 more years, right? Learn about it. Chalo. Now, what are the leads? So we know that we have 6 precordial leads and we have 4 limb leads. Out of these 4 limb leads, the right limb lead or the right leg lead is electroneutral. इसका कोई electrical potential नहीं होता है. This is an electroneutral lead. So effectively, we have 3 limb leads: right arm, left leg. Effectively, we have 3 limb leads, right? Right arm, left leg. And these are our 6 precordial leads. Only 1 precordial lead is present on the right side of the sternum. Rest all are present on the left side of the sternum. What is the position? It is very easy to remember. See, V1 is present in the 4th intercostal space, just on the right side of the right parasternal edge, 4th intercostal space. 4th intercostal space, left side of the sternum is V2. V4 lies in the 5th intercostal space in the mid-clavicular line. We have our clavicle here. So, uska jo midpoint aata hai, usse 5th intercostal space mein, we have the V4 lead. Similarly, V5 lies in the same space but in the anterior axillary line, and then 6 in the mid axillary line, same space, 5th intercostal space. What about V3? V3 is placed between V2 and V4. Between V2 and V4. V3 का कोई specific space नहीं होता. We place V3 between V2 and V4. Okay. So all the leads are either in the 4th intercostal space or in the 5th intercostal space. 4th intercostal space on the right side of the sternum V1. 4th intercostal space on the left side of the sternum V2. V3 between V2 and V4. V4, V5, V6 all in the 5th intercostal space on the left side, mid-clavicular line, anterior axillary line, mid-axillary line. Okay? RA, LA, LL. ये सबको पता है. Right arm, left leg. Right leg is electroneutral. So effectively we have 3. Now because we have these 3 leads placed on the limbs, now we can figure out 6 leads out of these limb leads, 6 electropotential differences that we can measure. And what do we call these electropotential differences? Lead 1, 2, 3, AVL, AVF and AVR. Okay? Augmented leads and lead 1, 2, 3. And this particular triangle is known as Einthoven triangle. Let's see how this is formed. Einthoven's triangle. Okay? Now, how are these leads formed? So, left arm, right arm, left leg. This one is electroneutral. इसको हटा देते हैं, इसको भूल जाते हैं. तो हमारे पास 3 limb leads हैं. Now, the electropotential difference between the 2 arms is known as lead 1, measured as lead 1 on our ECG paper, right? The right arm, left leg is 2. So, you just go anti-clockwise, 1, 2 and 3. So, 1, 2 and 3. Okay. Now, there is a center which is known as a Wilson center also. It is a hypothetical center of the body where we assume that the charge is 0. Charge is 0. The effective charge is 0 at the center of the body. So, ये हमने एक hypothetical center ले लिया. From this imaginary center of the body, whatever differences we get with respect to the left arm, with respect to the right arm lead and with respect to the left leg lead is known as AVL. L for left arm, AVR, R for right arm and AVF, F for foot. Okay, so these are known as augmented leads. V for voltage, A for augmented. L for left, R for right, F for foot. Foots में तो एक ही effective lead है ना, तो उसको F लिख दिया. आर्म में हमारे पास लेफ्ट राइट है तो उसको एल और आर का नाम दे दिया. This whole triangle formed because of these limb leads and the electropotential differences that we are measuring through these 3 leads is known as Einthoven's triangle. Okay. Based on the Einthoven's triangle only, we calculate the cardiac axis. Now, how do we calculate the cardiac axis? It's very, very simple. The normal axis lies between -30 to. एक तो हाँ, please remember that if this is our heart, the axis of the heart, how is the axis placed? So basically just remember that the left and downward axis is always positive. So the net charge that we get from the whole electrical activity in the heart is positive on the left and downward side and it's negative on the right and upward side. हार्ट के राइट और अपवर्ड नेगेटिव नेट चार्ज होता है और लेफ्ट और डाउनवर्ड में पॉजिटिव नेट चार्ज होता है. व्हाई इज इट इंपॉर्टेंट? बिकॉज इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट टू नो व्हाई the S wave or the Q wave are going in the negative direction, T wave is going in positive direction. So I teach you that also. मैं वो भी आपको बताऊंगी. This is important to know here because we are talking about the cardiac axis also. So now that we know that the net charge of electrical activity of our heart is positive in left and downward direction and negative in the right and upward direction, let us look at the axis. So the normal axis is minus 30 to plus 90. Minus 30 degree to plus 90 degrees is your normal axis. Minus 30 to minus 90, this one is your left axis deviation. Plus 90 to plus 180 degrees is known as right axis deviation. And whatever goes beyond 180 till minus 90 is extreme axis deviation, extreme right axis deviation. Okay. Now, after looking at the ECG, how do you know if the axis is normal or not? How do you know about the axis? By looking at the ECG paper. Do you want to take a screenshot of this measurement? 25 millimeter, one small square. If you want to take a screenshot of this measurement, you can. Then I'll erase it. Okay. Right. Now, how do you know what is the axis? Very, very simple rule. जो मैंने अपनी practice में आज तक भी use किया है. That is only one thing. Okay. Only remember one thing. Left leaves. Left leaves. Left leaves. Okay. So when we talk about axis, we'll look at two leads. Lead 1 and lead AVF. Lead 1 and lead AVF. Now, what does left leaves means? How do we know that it is a left axis deviation? Left axis deviation is when the two waveforms in lead 1 and AVF are going in opposite direction. Dur dur ja rahe. They are leaving each other. Like in this one. Lead 1 is positive and AVF is negative. So this means left leaves. They are going away from each other, which is left axis deviation. If they are both positive and positive, because the net charge is always in the normal cardiac axis, this is your normal axis. अब अगर left leaves है, if in left axis deviation, lead 1 and AVF are leaving each other, of course, in right axis deviation, they are meeting up with each other, right? So one negative and AVF positive. And only one scenario is left now, both negative. One negative, AVF negative, extreme RAD. Easy to remember. So if you have an ECG paper in hand, not just in your exam also it becomes very, very important to know the axis. The first thing you look at is your rate. The second thing you look at is your axis. So how do you know this axis? By looking at lead 1 and AVF. So just have a look at lead 1 and AVF. अब कल से practice में डालना. कभी भी कोई ECG मिलता है, just look at the rate first and then look at the axis. Look at lead 1 and AVF. How are they going? Are they positive, negative, positive, positive, negative, positive, negative, negative? There are only 4 possible scenarios, right? अब positive, positive का हमें पता है normal होता है, negative, negative हमें पता है कि बहुत extreme deviation में चला जाता है. One thing that is tough to remember is left and right. So just remember left leaves and you will be able to figure it out कि cardiac axis left axis में जा रही है कि right में जा रही है, right? Now, how do you calculate heart rate? I think you already know about that. 1500 divided by RR intervals. 1500 divided by the number of RR intervals is your heart rate. You all must be aware of that by now, right? The normal heart rate lies between 60 to 100. Less than 60, bradycardia. More than 100, tachycardia. Okay. Okay. Now let's look at our paper also, our ECG paper that we have. Oh yeah, we need to discuss the cardiac cycle also. Yes. So now you all know that there is one systole and there is a diastole. Systole means contraction. Okay, systole. Cardiac systole means contraction. Diastole means relaxation. When does the muscle contract? So electrical activity in the heart gives rise to mechanical activity. Electrical activity, electrical potential differences lead to muscle contraction, right? So contraction in another way is depolarization, opening up of sodium channels. Relaxation is repolarization, opening up of potassium channels. Okay, so systole means contraction, depolarization potential. Diastole is relaxation, repolarization potential. Okay, relaxation, repolarization potential. Why is it important? How do we know what all waveforms are formed and how the waveforms are formed, right? Or which wave is corresponding to which part of the cardiac cycle? So let me explain that to you. If this is your myocardium, and this right here is your ventricular septum and the ventricular muscles. So these are your atria, right and left. These are your ventricles, right and left. Okay. We know that here we have our SA node, which generates potential, which gives rise to contraction of these atrial muscles, which then generates the current, transfers the current to the AV node, which is also known as a junctional node. Which is also known as a junctional node because it lies at the junction of the atria and the ventricle. From the AV node, there is this bundle of His. There is this bundle of His, which gets excited and sends the potential to the septum. Septum first, right? So first thing that happens is the septal excitement. The septum then gives rise to electrical potential differences in these two branches, which are known as, so from the bundle of His, we have the right branch and we have the left branch. From these branches get connected to the Purkinje fibers. So the bundle branches get excited because of the current and then the Purkinje fibers. These Purkinje fibers lie at the end of the electrical system of the heart where they supply the ventricular myocytes. The ventricular myocytes or the ventricular muscle fibers, right? Muscles, leading to ventricular contraction. So we know that first of all, atria contracts, then atria relaxes and ventricle contracts to push out the blood to the aorta. The ventricle when contracts, atria relaxes and then ventricle relaxes. So the first thing that happens is atrial systole, atrial contraction. SA node has automaticity, right? It is the pacemaker of the heart. It is something where the electrical activity gets generated, not transferred from anywhere. It gets generated. When SA node gets excited, it leads to contraction of the atrial muscle. When the atrial muscles contract, they give rise to a net charge which is going towards left and out. But because the atrial muscles are not as strong as the ventricular muscle, the charge is somewhat slow and gradual. Now, when this atria contracts and this net charge goes left and downwards, which is actually the net positive charge going towards the positive axis, we get a positive deflection. We get a positive deflection and a small deflection. Why small? Because the atrial muscles are small muscles, small myocytes, right? Less number of myocytes, less number of muscles. So we get a small deflection. This deflection is your P wave. Okay, so what does P wave signify? P wave signifies atrial contraction. Then there is an isoelectric line where the ECG needle is not moving. Why? Because now all the atrial myocytes are depolarized and for few seconds, the electrical activity doesn't get transferred anywhere. It stays in the AV node. AV node has a very good property of slowing down. AV node has a property of slowing down. AV node leads to delay of approximately 0.12 second. This AV nodal delay is very, very important to prevent tachys in our heart. So this is a normal mechanism. This delay is normal. SA node can get excited rapidly, but AV node has a property of delay. Why? Because number one, AV node has many cells in it, in which there are few gap junctions. Gap junctions are like a junctions from where the electrical potentials get transferred from one cell to another cell. So it takes little bit of time for the electrical current to go from the atria to the bundle of His because of the AV node. So this delay of 0.12 second is what you see as PR interval. What you see as the PR, this is PR segment. And PR interval is from the beginning of P wave till the beginning of the R wave. Beginning of the P wave till the beginning of R wave is your PR interval. PR segment is end of P wave till the beginning of R wave. So what is PR interval? PR interval is P wave plus PR segment. Okay, PR interval is P wave plus PR segment. Okay, now what about the QRS? What about the Q deflection, R deflection, and S deflection? Why do we get a negative, big positive, and then again a small negative? Give me a second. Not happening. 1 second. Let me just open up a new one. Okay. So this is our heart. Oh, ये कुछ अजीब सा ही हार्ट बन गया है, बट आप समझ लेना. ठीक है, this is our heart. ये हमारा septum and the ventricular muscles, the Purkinje fibers are going into the ventricle. Right, ventricular myocyte. This is our SA node. This is our AV node. Right, these are our atrial myocytes which got contracted and gave rise to formation of P wave. Right. So we have our P wave. This is our P wave. This is our PR segment. And from the beginning of P wave till the Q wave, we call it PR interval. Okay. Now what happens next? Next, atrial repolarization starts, atrial relaxation starts, whereas ventricular depolarization starts. Now, after that delay of 0.12 second, the current starts passing to the bundle of His. And the first thing in the ventricle that gets depolarized is this septum. Now, this septum is formed of small muscles which give rise to a deflection, which is a positive deflection, but in a right and upward direction, because more of the muscle fibers are kind of present in the right-sided septum. So right and upward, small deflection. Because this is our negative axis, this is the direction of our positive net charge of the heart. If there is a positive charge that is moving towards the negative dipole, what kind of a wave will we get? Positive or negative? We will get a negative wave. And because these muscles are again small muscles, we get a very quick, a very short, a very quick negative deflection, which we call as Q wave. What is this wave? This is our Q wave. Okay, now what happens next? After the septal depolarization, then the major ventricular depolarization occurs. Major ventricular depolarization occurs. Because of this major ventricular depolarization, now these are the cells that are present in large numbers and with big muscle fibers. So these lead to major ventricular contraction. So we get a higher amplitude waveform. And because the ventricular mass, net mass, is directed towards the left side, we get a positive charge going towards the positive axis of the heart. And we get a positive deflection, which is strong deflection, large amplitude wave. And what is this wave known as? R. This is the R wave. The third thing in the ventricle that get depolarized are these leftover basal muscles in the ventricle. These leftover basal muscles in the ventricle. Again, These are medium-sized muscle fibers. So what happens is they also give rise to a positive deflection, but a smaller one because they are not as many in number as the most of the ventricular myocytes, right? A positive deflection towards the positive cardiac axis, but a smaller one. What do we get? What do we get? Right? A positive towards positive. We should get a small positive, but what happens here? Here, because the atria are also repolarizing, this net, again, these muscle fibers, because they are also getting depolarized, it leads to a very small positive charge, net charge towards the right side. Now, when we compare this left-sided charge and the right-sided charge of the basal ventricular muscles, the right-sided charge is the net charge that we get. So ultimately, in the end, we are getting a positive charge going towards the negative dipole at the end of ventricular depolarization. So what do we get? We get a very small S deflection, S wave. So why are we getting a negative Q, positive R, and a negative S? Because number one, the septal gets depolarized. Septal depolarization gives rise to the negative Q because the net charge is going away from the positive cardiac axis. Again, major ventricular depolarization gives rise to a big amplitude positive R wave, and then finally the basal and parabasal ventricular depolarization gives rise to a negative S, which is small, right? Now, after the ventricle gets depolarized, the whole ventricle starts relaxing. Repolarization starts. Now, ventricle has gone into systole, has pushed out the blood, and now the ventricles are going to relax. When the ventricles relax, first of all, because there is some time where the entire ventricle is depolarized and the current is held for few seconds, there is an isoelectric line which is known as ST segment, So what is ST segment? And then because of repolarization, we get a small T wave. The repolarization current is again in favor of the positive charge, in favor of the positive cardiac axis. The whole ventricular muscle gets repolarized. If the depolarization starts from inside to out, repolarization starts from outside to in, making the negative net positive charge again going towards the positive side, and we get a positive deflection which is mild small, right? So we get a T wave. Now, if I ask you, what does the P wave represent? So P wave represents atrial systole or atrial contraction or atrial depolarization. Systole is contraction, is depolarization. If I ask you what is QRS, it corresponds to ventricular contraction or depolarization or systole. Atrial repolarization is kind of merged in this ventricular systole only. Okay. If I ask you about T wave, what does that indicate? Ventricular relaxation or diastole. तो ये तीनों चीजें आपको याद होनी चाहिए. And then in some patients, we do get small U waves also, which are because of the Purkinje fiber discharge, the Purkinje fiber electrical activity. The last Purkinje fibers electrical activity can give rise to small U waves, and we find positive U waves in conditions like hypokalemia. Okay. So P wave atrial systole, QRS ventricular systole, T ventricular diastole. PR interval, please remember this. This is very, very important. AV nodal delay. PR interval tells us about AV nodal delay. So if you give somebody something to slow down the AV node, for example, digoxin. Digoxin has a nodal delay property, right? Or calcium channel blockers or adenosine. In PSVTs, we do give adenosine, right? That is to inhibit the AV node so that the delay is prolonged. What will happen? PR interval becomes prolonged. So in digoxin effect also, the PR interval gets prolonged. If you give CCBs, PR interval gets prolonged. If you give beta blockers, PR interval gets prolonged because they're all delaying or increasing the delay of the current in the AV node. Okay, got it? So this is the most basic of the ECG that you should know of. Now let's go ahead with our these things, our questions, the measurements and everything. So first thing, P wave, it indicates atrial depolarization. Acha, before going ahead with this, do you understand? Have you understood everything till now? कोई doubt है अभी तक? Because this was the basic. Any doubts till now? You know how is the ECG paper set? You know about the leads, what are augmented leads? How are we calculating the electrical discharge between the leads? What are we naming that electrical discharge? 1, 2, 3, Ian-Thoven's triangle, the center of the body. Then how is P wave formed? What is the automatic pacemaker of the heart? Why do we get delay or why do we get PR interval? And what is the normal conduction pathway of the heart? And then very, very importantly, how do we correlate our ECG waveforms with the corresponding cardiac cycle? You got everything? Achha, there is some issue with the loading. So I'll not be able to draw on this. Right, what I'm going to do is, ये हर चीज में पैसे मांगते रहते हैं. If you want to do anything, you need to pay, even for little things. Okay, so I'll just speak. I can't write on this paper, but listen carefully. What is normal P wave? P wave describes or depicts our atrial depolarization, right? Normal measurements, duration less than or equal to 0.12 second, 3 small boxes. We know that one small square is 0.04 second. 3 small squares will be 0.04 into 3, 0.12 seconds. So the normal duration of P wave is less than or equal to 3 small boxes. Amplitude in lead 2 is less than or equal to 2.5 millimeters. SA node is our pacemaker. SA node gives out the electrical potential or the discharge leading to atrial muscle involvement, which gives rise to our P wave. Okay, so clinical correlation is with the SA node and the atrial contraction, atrial depolarization. Now, when we get tall P wave, we call it P pulmonale, which is usually seen in right atrial enlargement. When we get bifid P wave or P mitral, it is usually seen in left atrial enlargement. That much we know. P pulmonale, tall P waves, right atrial enlargement, seen in core pulmonale, COPD, pulmonary hypertension with ILD, associated with ILD, right? PH cases. Bifid P wave, P mitral, left atrial enlargement, most commonly seen in mitral stenosis. PR interval. We know that PR interval is depicting AV nodal delay, right? PR interval is denoting the conduction of the current through the AV node. And how much is the normal PR interval? 0.12 to 0.20 second, which corresponds to 3 to 5 small boxes. तो हम जब मेजर करते हैं ना PR इंटरवल या कुछ भी, तो हम स्केल से नहीं करते. We look at the boxes, we count the boxes, है ना? So यहाँ पे ये this is important. So 3 to 5 small boxes, it just tells us or denotes the AV nodal conduction. Now there can be short PR interval in cases of accessory pathway, which we will read about. हम अभी arrhythmias का basic करेंगे तो हम ये पढ़ेंगे. We will read about AV block also. You will understand the PR interval there. Let's look at Q wave also. So Q wave is because of the septal depolarization. I just told you. Pathological Q wave more than 0.04 second. R wave old MIs में मिलता है. Normal small Q waves in 1 AVL V5 V6. But yes, old MIs, Q waves also denote old MI, right? When we talk about acute coronary syndrome, we will talk about physiological as well as pathological cues also. QRS complexes usually tell us about the major ventricular depolarization. and normal duration is less than 2.5 small boxes. It indicates normal ventricular conduction. When do we get wide QRS? Wide QRS हमें कब मिलेगा? तब मिलेगा whenever there is a block or a delay in the conduction pathway while going from AV node to the ventricle. Till AV node everything is okay. PR interval तक सब ठीक है, but we get wide QRS. Why? Because the conduction in the ventricles is slow. When can that happen? If there is a bundle branch block, if there is an ischemia of the bundle of His, or if there are ischemic regions in the ventricular muscle, we can get abnormal QRS complexes in anything that involves the ventricles or the ventricular conduction system. QRS has nothing to do with the atrium or the AV node or the SA node. तो कभी भी क्वेश्चन में अगर QRS wide, broad, monomorphic, polymorphic कुछ भी पूछे है, the answer has to be ventricular. It can't be related to SA node or AV node or anything. Okay. When we talk about ST segment, that is our early ventricular repolarization. Our T wave is our ventricular repolarization. ST segment is the isoelectric time where there is no current passing, so the ECG needle is not moving. So we get a segment, we get a line, isoelectric line. It denotes early ventricular repolarization where the current is held. Current is held for few seconds, right? Normal repolarization, when does it get elevated? In STEMI, when do we have diffuse ST segment elevation in all the leads? Pericarditis, that's how we differentiate pericarditis from STEMI. Digoxin can also lead to ST segment elevation. Then we have something known as curved ST segment in Brugada syndrome. We'll talk about all of these in subsequent classes. Don't worry about it. I'm just giving you a rough idea about all of these here. T wave, ventricular relaxation or repolarization or diastole, right? So tall T wave, hyperkalemia. Tall T बोलते हैं तो नींद में सपने में भी hyperkalemia आना चाहिए याद. Tall T, hyperkalemia. Inverted T, MI, ECS. Okay, or left ventricular strain. QT interval again very, very important. It starts from the beginning of Q till the end of T. So QT interval is including your ventricular depolarization, systole contraction and repolarization, relaxation, diastole. It becomes important because your QT interval gives you entire ventricular idea. आपको पूरे ventricle का idea लग रहा है कि ventricle depolarize कैसे हो रहा है, repolarize कैसे हो रहा है. So there can be a problem with the conduction system. There can be a problem because of the calcium channels in the ventricular muscles, or there can be a problem with the drugs that you are giving, which are leading to this depolarization and repolarization anomaly. So QT interval can be prolonged, can be short. Normal QTC is corrected QT interval, which is given by Bazzett's formula. और वो सबको पता होता है, आपने जरूर पढ़ा होगा अपना फाइनल ईयर में Bazzett's formula. If not, please go back and revise that formula. QTC less than or equal to 440 millisecond in males and less than or equal to 460 millisecond in females is normal. Right? Now, long QT can be seen in hypokalemia, short QT hypocalcemia, short QT hypercalcemia. So QT is kind of inversely related to calcium levels in the blood. Hypocalcemia, long QT, hypercalcemia, short QT. Other than that, certain antiarrhythmics, quinolones, macrolides, congenital syndromes can also lead to prolonged or short QT. So you should know these causes. U wave is a small deflection after the T wave because of the electrical discharge in the Purkinje fibers. Few Purkinje fibers are the last one to repolarize. मैंने आपको बताया ना, जो depolarization होता है वो ventricular muscle. देखो ventricular muscle अगर इतना मोटा अगर ventricular muscle है, so there is a part which is inside the heart and there is a part which is outside. Depolarization हमेशा inside to outside जाता है. मतलब inside वाले muscle cells, ventricular muscles or myocytes get the electrical current first, contract first, and then last में जाता है. Repolarization में उल्टा होता है. It's from outside to inside. So Purkinje fibers are the last to repolarize, few of those. So in some of the ECGs, normal ECGs also, you can find small deflection after T wave because Purkinje fibers are very small fibers. So बहुत बड़ा current और electrical discharge नहीं दे सकते हैं. Often not seen, but there are prominent U waves in cases of hypokalemia because there is an anomaly with repolarization. So it gets more prominent, hypokalemia, bradycardia, even with digitalis, right? Digoxin effect. You can see U waves. But for your MCQs, usually prominent U waves are asked in relation to hypokalemia. ठीक है, तो उतना हम याद रखेंगे. Heart rate you already know. RR interval, you know, RR interval is between the two R waves, right? And how do you calculate heart rate? 1500 divided by RR intervals. Okay. How do you calculate the axis? By looking at lead 1 and AVF. And remember, left leaves. Then what is Bizet's formula? The corrected QT interval. So QT divided by square root of RR interval. You need to be good at maths in order to do this. Otherwise, you can use a calculator like me. Okay, I'm not very good at maths, to be honest. Now, QTC more than 500 can put the patient at high risk of Torsades de Pointes. Okay, and when do we call QTC to be prolonged? When it goes beyond 440 in males and beyond 460 in females, which can happen in cases of hypocalcemia, hypomagnesemia, hypokalemia, 1A and 3 class antiarrhythmics. इसके बारे में हम कल पढ़ेंगे about antiarrhythmics. QTC shortened less than 350 millisecond in hypercalcemia and in digoxin effect. Okay. And of course, the congenital syndromes. Achha, these ECG changes or ECG atlas we are going to look at tomorrow in our atlas, in our PPT. Now let me tell you the basics of arrhythmias. What are the basics of arrhythmias? So first of all, what is normal cardiac rhythm? Arrhythmia is abnormal rhythm. What is normal cardiac rhythm? We look at three things. Number one, the rate should be between 60 to 100 beats per minute. Second, the origin or the pacemaker, the natural pacemaker of the heart is SA node. Whatever originates from anything else is arrhythmia. So for example, if my atrium is not working, it's ischemic, SA node, AV node are not working, the bundle of His will take over as the new pacemaker. But will that be normal pacemaker? No. So what will that lead to? Whatever it leads to, it will be known as an arrhythmia. And normal conduction pathway. What is the normal conduction pathway? SA node to AV node, SA node to atrial muscles, then to AV node, delay, bundle of His, bundle branches, Purkinje fibers, ventricular muscles. This is the normal conduction pathway. This is how the electrical current goes. So मैंने दिखाया भी हुआ है. Now, what are arrhythmias? Arrhythmias are divided into two. Tachyarrhythmias, bradyarrhythmias. Bradyarrhythmias can be divided into mild, moderate, severe based on the heart rate. So 40 to 60, mild, 20 to 40, moderate, less than 20, severe. Not tough to remember that. On the basis of heart rate, how do we differentiate or, classify tachyarrhythmias? So 100 to 150 usually sinus, 150 to 250 paroxysmal, which has sudden onset or abrupt onset, abrupt offset. 250 to 350 flutter, more than 350 fibrillation. And we'll talk about these in detail. And based on the tissue, we call it sinus tachyarrhythmias or atrial tachyarrhythmias, nodal junction arrhythmias, ventricular arrhythmias. So how do we divide arrhythmias? So arrhythmias can be sinus arrhythmias. Let me give you an overview here. So how do we divide arrhythmias? Arrhythmias are divided on basis of the location, from where the arrhythmia or the abnormal rhythm of the heart is getting generated, right? So if this is the heart, atria, ventricle, and these are the bundle branches and my Purkinje fibers, right? And this is the bundle of His. Here I have the AV node. Here I have the SA node. These are my atrial muscles, right? Now, if there is something happening to the SA node, we call it sinus arrhythmias. It can be tachyarrhythmia, it can be bradyarrhythmia. Tachyarrhythmias where SA node is firing more than required. Bradyarrhythmias where SA node is firing less than required, or it is underdriving the heart. Okay, it is firing at a slower rate. Now, the second one is our atrial muscles. If our atrial muscles are not contracting in synchrony, or there is a re-entrant pathway, right? So there can be two things which can lead to arrhythmias, or in fact, three things: automaticity, Automaticity is being a pacemaker, Now, naturally or normally, our heart has only one pacemaker, that is our SA node. But sometimes in some conditions or due to some drugs or some congenital conditions, rest of the part of the heart also try to be the pacemaker. Pacemaker is the tissue that generates the electrical current. Whatever generates an electrical current is called a pacemaker. Okay. So automaticity, if AV node starts firing on its own, for example, if SA node and AV node, the conduction between the two gets blocked and AV node starts firing on its own, this is an abnormal pacemaker. Or if AV node is blocked by adenosine or by calcium channel blockers high doses, what happens? AV node gets blocked, there will be heart block. What will heart do? The ventricular muscles will try to generate the current in order to continue with the contraction of the heart. So these are abnormal pacemakers that can get formed. So these abnormal pacemakers can happen with respect to atrial muscles, AV node, bundle of His, ventricular muscles. Okay, anything in the conduction pathway other than the SA node, which can lead to arrhythmias. The second is triggered automaticity. So triggered automaticity usually happens because of early and delayed after depolarization. So after depolarization, currents usually get blocked because the muscle tissue after depolarization is actually getting repolarized. It's relaxing. So the tissue is not excitable. Sometimes what happens is if the after or the early or the delayed after depolarization are short enough or fast enough to find the tissue still excitable, they lead to triggered automaticity. They can lead to more firing of the tissue again and again. So that is triggered automaticity. The third most important thing is reentrant phenomena. Reentrant phenomena. Now, for example, in cases of, you must have heard about Wolff-Parkinson syndrome, right? In Wolff-Parkinson syndrome, we have a bundle of Kent. It is kind of an aberrant pathway, not normally present in everybody. So if there is an abnormal pathway, an aberrant pathway, the current that is generated from the SA node goes to the atrium and then to the AV node. Now the current goes to the normal AV node, which gets passed to the bundle of His, but there is some portion of current which is also getting transmitted via this pathway. Now AV node is naturally a slow tissue, but the aberrant pathway is not a slow tissue. So what happens? What happens is because this current goes or reaches here faster than the AV node current that comes down, this current finds the AV node still excitable. Because AV node ne abhi tak to current bheja nahi na, so it has not started repolarizing. So the tissue is still excitable. Because it still finds the tissue excitable, the current keeps on going in circles. And it keeps on throwing multiple currents to the bundle of His, which then leads to tachyarrhythmias, right? This was about Wolff-Parkinson syndrome. In case there is an ischemic tissue or a scar tissue, in case there is a scar tissue, for example, if this is a scar tissue, if normal current is coming from here through this path and from the scar, around the scar tissue, another current is coming at another speed. Because in a scar tissue, you are not sure which tissue is depolarizing how much or conducting how much. The tissue is scarred. It's an abnormal tissue now. So again, this current still finds this tissue excitable and keeps on going in circles. This is something known as reentrant phenomena. It keeps on throwing electrical depolarizations or currents to the tissue downwards, which leads to arrhythmias and most commonly tachyarrhythmias. Okay, so these are some of the phenomena how arrhythmias occur. Now, anything happening with the atrial muscle are known as atrial arrhythmias, Anything wrong happening with the AV node are known as nodal arrhythmias or junctional arrhythmias. Nodal is the term given to this node and junctional matlab junction pe. So AV node lies at the junction of atria and ventricle, so nodal or junctional arrhythmias. And then anything that happens because of the abnormal activity, electrical activity in the ventricle is known as ventricular arrhythmias. So we have 4 types of arrhythmias. सभी में अलग-अलग हमें ECG findings मिलती हैं, and there is a reason for that. We'll look at that also. So sinus arrhythmias, atrial arrhythmias, nodal or junctional arrhythmias, and ventricular arrhythmias. Okay. So there are 4 types of arrhythmias. Now let's look at all these types. Sinus arrhythmias are divided into 4. One is physiological sinus arrhythmia. So you must be aware of this, that when we breathe in, during inspiration, our vagal tone gets inhibited. During expiration, our vagal tone gets stimulated. This is physiological, it's completely normal. So inspiration, because vagal tone gets inhibited, the heart rate increases. Vagus is a nerve which gives an inhibitory output to the SA node and the AV node. Vagus is a nerve that gives inhibitory output to the SA node and the AV node. If vagus nerve gets inhibited, the nodes get more excited, so increased heart rates. During expiration or while we are breathing out, our vagus gets stimulated, which leads to more of negative output to the nodes, which leads to decreased heart rate. So this is something physiological. This is physiological sinus arrhythmia, which happens because of the breathing. Sinus tachycardia, which is seen in exercise, fever, hyperthyroidism, these are the conditions where SA node gets more excited or overdrives the heart. So here the waveforms are all okay. P wave, QRS, T wave. Again, P wave, QRS, T wave. It's just that the heart rate increases. But the waveforms are all normal, like seen in this ECG. Okay. One second, there's something in the chat box. Triggered automaticity. See, triggered automaticity is because of the delayed and early after depolarization. There are 3 types of currents in our myocytes or the nodal cells, in the cells of the cardiac cells, right? One is depolarization current. Then there is an after depolarization current, which is very, very short, very minute, doesn't usually affect us in any way. And third is a repolarization current. What we record in our ECG paper is the depolarization and the repolarization current. हमारा आफ्टर डिपोलराइजेशन करंट इतना स्मॉल एम्पलीट्यूड होता है कि इट इज नॉट रिकॉर्डेड ऑन आवर ईसीजी पेपर. Now what is happening at the level of these cells? In case there is a calcium channel block because of calcium channel blocker or something, the after depolarization current becomes more than required or more than normal. When that happens, when the after depolarization current is higher in amplitude or it is faster than normal, it reaches or it stays in the tissue for a longer time. The repolarization current has yet not started. When the repolarization starts, our tissues become non-excitable. Our SA node, AV node cannot re-excite our muscle cells if they are in repolarization. Repolarization में muscles contract नहीं करेंगे. But if after depolarization is fast enough to reach an excitable tissue before repolarization starts, it leads to automaticity. Fast हो गया, कुछ tissue excitable था, again the tissue got excited, again a small depolarization current will get formed, not enough repolarization. So some tissue keeps getting re-excited again and again, which keeps throwing small depolarization current to rest of the muscles, whichever comes down the conduction pathway, which can lead to arrhythmias. Right, so anything that is swaying away from a normal conduction pathway can give rise to arrhythmias. If it is leading to slower rhythm, it is known as bradyarrhythmia. If it is leading to faster rhythm, it is known as tachyarrhythmia. Is that clear? Parth has written free trial run, which I don't understand. Oh, maybe you're talking about the free trial in this Microsoft. Let's leave that. I'm not sure if I can, we should go through that now. अभी ऐसे ही करते हैं. Whatever I need to teach you, I'll teach that on the window, the whiteboard. Right. So exercise, fever, hyperthyroidism can lead to sinus tachycardia where all the waveforms are normal, the intervals are normal. All P waves are followed by QRS, but they are just faster, right? Sinus bradycardia, everything slows down again. Sinus bradycardia is like everything is happening, but very, very slow. So like in athletes, hypothyroidism, hypothermia. So in these cases, our SA node gets delayed. SA node underdrives the heart. SA node का as a pacemaker activity less than usual हो जाता है, which leads to normal waveforms but slowed heart rate. So थोड़ा सा gap आ जाएगा between the RR intervals, okay, like in this ECG. Then there is something known as sixth sinus syndrome. अब नाम से पता चल रहा है sixth sinus, that something has happened to the sinus node. The sinus node is not normal. So what happens is in some cases of ischemia or even in cases of sepsis, specifically in cases of sepsis or in sometimes in cases of AKI, ALF, acute liver failure, acute kidney injury patients also, the SA node gets affected by the electrolyte abnormalities that are going up and down in the blood, or because of the the molecules that are getting secreted, the interleukins and everything. So the SA node doesn't work normally here. It sometimes overdrives the heart, sometimes underdrives it. So all the waveforms again will be normal, the intervals will be normal, the segments will be normal, the P wave, QRS, the morphology is going to be completely normal, but some RR intervals are short, some RR intervals are long. So sometimes there is tachy. On some parts of ECG paper, there is BRAD, which is known as sinus tachybrady syndrome, most commonly seen in patients of sepsis or septicemia. Okay, so that is sinus tachybrady syndrome. जैसा इस ECG में भी दिख रहा है. So this is about SA node. What can SA node arrhythmias lead to? So there is something physiological, the physiological sinus thing, which is because of the inspiration, expiration. Then there is sinus tachycardia in cases of exercise, fever, hyperthermia, sinus bradycardia in cases of athletes, hypothyroidism, hypothermia, cold temperatures. And then there is sixth sinus syndrome. This is all sinus node can lead to. ये सब sinus arrhythmias थे. Now let's talk about atrial arrhythmias. This is because of the atrial tissue, the excitability issue of the atrial tissue. SA node ने fire कर दिया, but there is some abnormality going on with the atrial muscles. Either the atrial muscles have generated some ectopics, or there are ischemic regions, or there are scarred regions. So what can happen in this case? So there can be atrial tachycardia. Let's talk about the tachys first. Atrial tachycardia, atrial flutter, atrial fibrillation. So atrial muscle, I want you to remember three things. Atrial tachycardia, atrial flutter, atrial fibrillation. Depending on the heart rate, 100 to 250, 250 to 300, more than 350. Right? 100 to 250, 250 to 300, more than 350. Now what happens in atrial tachycardia is that SA node keeps on firing, but atrial muscles, all the muscles are firing, few of the muscles are firing at their own rate. So because of the atrial muscle contraction, only we get P wave. Now because few atrial muscles are firing, which are very small in number, every current from the atrial muscle doesn't get shifted or transported to the AV node. So what happens is that we get multiple P waves and then some current gets sent to the ventricle, which gives rise to QRS. So we get multiple normal morphology P waves, less than 2.5 millimeter amplitude P waves, followed by one QRS. Then again multiple P waves, then one QRS. QRS morphology is completely normal because nothing is wrong with the ventricles. Now, what if more than few atrial muscle fibers go into depolarization at the same time? We will get a sawtooth pattern kind of P waves. Now, because multiple atrial muscle fibers are into depolarization, they are generating small abnormal current. So we get abnormal shaped P waves, which we call as sawtooth pattern. And in the middle of those P waves, we find few normal QRS. हमें कुछ normal QRS मिल जाता है, right? Atrial fibrillation is when many foci are creating that signal. Many foci, multiple ectopics in the atrial muscle. So there is no single current that leads to contraction of the atrium. So there is no atrial systole. If there is no atrial systole, we do not find any P wave. But then the AV node or the bundle of His starts acting as a pacemaker and gives rise to QRS waveform. Gives rise to QRS, but we do not find any P wave in cases of atrial fibrillation. Now let me tell you this on the whiteboard. एक बार मैं समझा देती हूँ आपको. Atrial arrhythmias, right? Atrial arrhythmias, three types: atrial tachy, atrial flutter, atrial fibrillation. Let me teach you how this happens. हाँ, ओके, सो दिस इज द एवी नोड. एवी नोड ने नॉर्मल फायर किया, दिस हैज वर्क नॉर्मली. जो एट्रियल मसल है दैट इज नॉट नॉर्मल, राइट. एवी नोड इज ओके, ऐसे नोड ठीक है, एवी नोड ठीक है, एट्रियल मसल्स ठीक नहीं है. So if few of the atrial muscles, for example, if these 2-3 few atrial muscles are not giving rise to normal contraction or depolarization current, what happens is there are multiple P waves. यहाँ पे कुछ P waves बन गए because few of the fibers are generating an abnormal current. Okay, so atria contract हुआ, फिर contract हुआ. After 3 or 4 times, some current gets transferred to the ventricle. When that happens, we get a QRS-T complex. And then again, we find multiple P waves and then a normal QRS waveform. What is this? This is atrial tachycardia. Usually happens when few of the atrial myocytes are abnormal. And the heart rate is between 150 to 250 or 100 to 250. The second thing can happen is that multiple muscles here, myocytes here are not acting normally. So normal contraction वो नहीं कर रहे हैं. Now because multiple muscles, multiple currents are going, small currents, so atrial muscle को multiple currents मिल रहे हैं, right? Our ECG paper records few of these as abnormal P waves. ऐसे वाले abnormal P waves हैं. Then some current again gets transported to the ventricles and we get a normal QRS and T. Right. So what is this known as? This is known as sawtooth pattern. And what is this seen in atrial flutter? तो ये होता है atrial flutter. इसमें heart rate usually 250 to 350. Now what if more than 70% of atrial muscle fibers are not working in synchrony? अगर इतने सारे मसल फाइबर सिंक्रोनाइज्ड नहीं है, आपस में साथ में मिलके काम नहीं कर रहे हैं, so will there be any single current that can lead to atrial contraction? No. No atrial contraction, no effective atrial contraction. So no P wave. And what happens is because there is no atrial contraction, now ventricles have to give out the blood. How do ventricles contract? So there is new pacemaker generated in the bundle or the ventricular myocyte, which gives rise to the ventricular contraction, which can give rise to QRS. So we do not find any P wave or because these are multiple small myocytes which are acting in different directions, unsynchronized muscle fibers or depolarization currents, it can give rise to small fibrillation waves, very small, which are usually not visible on ECG paper. But if you look carefully, you can find small fibrillation waves followed by normal QRS again. So what is this? This is AFib. Is this clear to all of you? Flutter, let me tell you flutter again. See, atrial muscles are not working normally. They are not working in a synchronized manner. When they are not working in a synchronized manner, we cannot have a normal P wave. We find a P wave in case of atrial contraction, which is normal, right? अगर atrial muscle involved हुए तो कौन सा waveform खराब होगा? P wave खराब होगा, right? In case of atrial flutter, approximately 30 to 50% myocytes are unsynchronized. When they are unsynchronized, तो सब अपना छोटा छोटा करंट दे रहे हैं, right? तो वो छोटा करंट हमारा ECG paper records as these small sawtooth shaped P waves. This is known as sawtooth pattern. But because less than 50% myocytes are unsynchronized, some current gets transferred to the ventricle and we have a QRS complex. Okay, So this is atrial flutter. When more than 50% get involved, we get atrial fibrillation, usually in heart rate above 350. Is this clear? Are atrial arrhythmias, tachyarrhythmias clear to you? So sinus arrhythmias clear, atrial arrhythmias clear. Shall we move on to junctional arrhythmias now? Junctional arrhythmias. Junctional arrhythmias are all about the junction. The junction is the AV node. Now I want you to write down in the chat box so that I know that you are not sleeping. Which waveform or interval or segment is corresponding to AV node or the conduction through the AV node? Which waveform on the ECG is responsible for the AV node conduction? The PR segment or the PR interval, correct? Now, what will get affected if there is junctional arrhythmia? The PR interval gets affected, correct? The PR interval gets affected. तो यहीं पे आपके basics आ जाते हैं. It's very important to know the basics so that you do not get confused in the exams. Junctional arrhythmia is all about AV node. AV node is responsible for PR interval, है ना? Now, AV node slows down the current. We know AV node normally leads to delay of 0.12 second. Now, what can happen? So there are two types of things that can happen. One is tachyarrhythmias, second is bradyarrhythmias. One is tachy, second is brady. So junctional tachyarrhythmias usually seen in cases of caffeine, exercise, right? Bradyarrhythmias are something which are seen in cases of scarring or ischemia of the AV node. Scarring or ischemia of the AV node. We will talk about tachyarrhythmias also. They are either seen physiologically with caffeine intake or because of a re-entrant pathway around the junction, around the node, AV node, like in Wolff-Parkinson syndrome or in intranodal re-entrant pathway. We'll talk about those. First, let's look at the bradyarrhythmias. What if the node gets unduly delayed more than normal? AV node gets blocked. This is known as heart block or junctional block or nodal block. So when we say first degree, second degree, third degree heart block, we are actually talking about the block or the undue delay happening in the AV node. Okay, it's not like the whole heart is getting blocked or stopped. No, the AV node gets slowed down or blocked. So there are three types of these heart blocks. First degree, second degree, third degree. What is first degree heart block? In first degree heart block, all the P waves are followed by QRS, but there is a delayed current flow through the AV node. So all the PR intervals are kind of prolonged. So first degree, so there can be a condition where AV node is slowed down a little bit, but every P wave gets transferred to the ventricles, which gives rise to a QRS. So all P waves will be transmitted or will be followed by QRS, but in every waveform, PR interval will get prolonged. Every waveform, PR interval will be prolonged. Normal QRS, normal P, just the PR interval is prolonged. That is a first degree heart block. Second degree heart block is where some P waves are not at all followed by QRS as AV node is suppressed more than usual. AV node gets suppressed more than usual. तो क्या होता है कि few P waves get conducted but few P waves do not get conducted. Second degree heart block also has types. Mobitz type 1, which is known as Wenckebach's. Mobitz type 2 and 2:1 block. Mobitz type 1, the PR interval gets progressively delayed till a beat is dropped. Mobitz type 2 is where the beat does not depend on the PR interval prolongation. उसमें sequential prolongation or progressive prolongation नहीं होता है, but there is just a drop of beat. अभी मैं ECG भी दिखा दूंगी आपको. The third degree heart block is where the AV node is completely blocked. बिल्कुल block हो गया. No conduction going through AV node. So SA node is generating P wave. So the atria is getting contracted. SA node ने generate कर दिया current, atria ने contract कर दिया, तो P wave बन गया. But that P wave current is not getting conducted through the AV node because the AV node is completely blocked. So what happens is bundle of His takes over as the new abnormal pacemaker and gives rise to a QRS, but there is no coordination or correlation between the P wave and the QRS wave. दोनों अपने अपने हिसाब से काम कर रहे हैं. So कभी P मिलेगा, कभी QRS मिलेगा, कभी P मिलेगा, कभी QRS मिलेगा. Right? So third degree heart block, no P wave gets conducted through AV node. Ashish, in atrial fibrillation, we do not find P waves. We have fibrillatory waves because the problem is in the atrial muscle. Atrial muscles give rise to our P waves. Here in heart block, the problem is with AV node. The atrial muscles are completely okay. We find P waves, but they are not getting transmitted to the ventricles. So there is no correlation between P and QRS, but we find both. Okay, so there is a big difference between atrial fibrillation and third degree heart block. Now let me, tell you why this. Just give me a second. Are you guys able to understand this or not? Okay, Niharika, great. Atrial flutter conduction also have 3:1, 4:1. Yes. So Parth, atrial flutter may less than 50% myocytes are involved, right? But some T waves get transmitted to the QRS. तो कुछ P waves के बाद में एक QRS तो आ ही रहा है ना. Completely तो atrial muscle गया नहीं है. Less than 50% गया है. So 3:1 is कि जब हमारे पास 3 sawtooth pattern waves आया और 1 QRS आ गया. 4:1 is जब हमारे पास 4 आ गया. But usually practically हमें ECG में 3:1, 4:1 नहीं मिलता है. We find sawtooth pattern and बीच में कहीं पे भी आपको एक normal QRS मिल जाएगा, right? Which will be your atrial flutter. Okay. So what were we talking about? We क्या कर रहे थे? Nodal blocks, right? So the SA node is normal. It generates current, which leads to atrial depolarization, which gives rise to normal P wave. यहाँ तक सब normal है. We are talking about junctional Brady. We are talking about junctional bradyarrhythmias. है ना? Junctional bradyarrhythmias, which means that there is undue blockage of the AV node. हमारा pathology कहाँ पे है? यहाँ पे है, in this AV node. Right. Now what all can happen? So AV node, if this is our heart muscle, this is our P wave that is getting transferred from the atria to the ventricle. This is P wave which is getting transferred. This is our AV node. It leads to a little bit of delay. Isoelectric line, PR segment, and then passes away the current to the bundle of His, leading to ventricular depolarization. So we get a QRS. Again, another P wave comes in. There is delay, and this is QRS. This delay is normally 0.12 second, up to 0.12 to 0.20 second, 3 to 5 small squares. When there is more delay in the AV node, what happens is all these intervals get prolonged. So we get an ECG such as P, prolonged PR, normal QRS and T. Again, a P, prolonged PR, normal QRS and a T. So the PR interval is prolonged, equally prolonged in all of these, and all P waves are followed by QRS. All P waves are followed by QRS. तो अगर आपके ECG पेपर में सब कुछ नॉर्मल है, but आपका PR interval बढ़ा हुआ है, increased है. So what is it? It is first degree heart block. Another thing that can happen is second degree heart block, where the AV node is further delayed. इससे भी ज़्यादा delay हो गया. Then we will get second degree heart block. Now in second degree heart block, what happens is, because there is more slowing, some of the P waves do not give rise to QRS. Because it is abnormally prolonged. Some P waves get transferred to form QRS or followed by QRS, but some are not. There are 3 types of patterns, or for you 2 types of patterns, Mobitz type 1 and 2, which are included in the second heart block. So second heart block का जो मीनिंग है आपको ये याद रखना है कि सम ऑफ द पी वेव्स आर नॉट फॉलोड बाय क्यूआरएस एंड देयर कैन बी टू पैटर्न्स इन दिस बिकॉज पी वेव फॉलोड बाय क्यूआरएस इज बिकॉज ऑफ द एवी नोड, है ना. इफ एवी नोड इज अनड्यूली डिलेड, मोर डिलेड, then some of the P waves are not followed by QRS. Now there can be two patterns of this. Number one, P wave, prolonged PR interval, QRS, T, again a P, more prolonged QRS, sorry, PR, QRS, again a P, and now there is no QRS. Now there is no QRS. The QRS beat gets dropped. So if this one is 0.25 millisecond and this one is 0.30 millisecond, the next P wave does not find an excitable tissue. Does not find an excitable tissue. It fails to find an excitable tissue. So this P wave does not go to QRS, or this atrial conduction does not get transferred to the ventricles, which is known as our Mobitz type 1. So Mobitz type 1 में क्या होता है? Progressive prolongation. When I say Mobitz type 1, नींद में भी आपको ये याद होना चाहिए. You say progressive prolongation. That's it. प्रोग्रेसिव प्रोलॉन्गेशन. ठीक है, तो Mobitz टाइप 1 को कैसे याद रखोगे? प्रोग्रेसिव प्रोलॉन्गेशन ऑफ P wave. This is Mobitz type 1. Progressive prolongation of P wave till one QRS gets dropped. One QRS gets dropped means this P wave is not followed by a QRS. This is again followed by a P wave. If I continue this ECG, this P wave is not followed by QRS, and then we have another P wave with prolonged PR interval, QRS and T. So what happened to this QRS? यहाँ पे तो QRS आया ही नहीं ना. So this is your Mobitz type 1. This is your Mobitz type 1 where there is progressive prolongation. So Mobitz type 1 के लिए दो words याद रखो, progressive prolongation. Okay. So this is how Mobitz type 1 looks like. What happens in Mobitz type 2? In Mobitz type 2, there is no progressive prolongation. No progressive prolongation, but there is AV nodal delay. So if this P wave leads to prolonged PR interval, T, QRS T, then again a P, then prolonged T, and then again a P, and supposedly there is again a prolonged PR interval, QRS, followed by a T and then a P. And this P, because of frequent prolongation or delay in the AV node, is not able to conduct and is followed by another P, QRS and T. What has happened here is PR interval is more than 0.20 second every time. Every time it is prolonged, it is equally prolonged till one beat gets dropped. Till one beat gets dropped. And this is your Mobitz type 2. Okay. Mobitz type 1, all the P waves are sequentially or progressively getting prolonged PR intervals, followed by one QRS that gets dropped. Mobitz type 2, PR interval is prolonged, but no progressive prolongation, equally prolonged in all the beats, and then one QRS gets dropped. There is one P wave which doesn't get transferred via the AV node to the ventricle because of the AV nodal delay, abnormal AV nodal delay. So that is what we call as Mobitz type 2. Now what happens in a third degree heart block? AV node और ज़्यादा block हो गया. जैसे हम adenosine देके करते हैं ना, we give adenosine. For few seconds AV node gets completely blocked and PSVT gets treated, right? Because the conduction from the atria to the ventricle stops completely. So what happens in third degree heart block? What happens in third degree heart block is AV node is not conducting at all. AV node is not conducting at all. So what happens is that the SA node gives rise to the current, which gives rise to this contraction of atrial muscle, which is normal. So P wave generate ho gaya. But this current is not getting transferred to the ventricle the bundle of his takes over. The bundle of his takes over as the new pacemaker to give rise to the ventricular depolarization, which gives rise to a QRS and P. But is there a correlation between the P and QRS? No. So what will happen is that sometimes you will find, for example, this is a P wave, and then I find a QRS, T, and then I have a P, and then I have a QRS and T. So there is no correlation. The P wave is not followed by the QRS wave, right? This is your third degree heart block. It is also known as AV dissociation, atrioventricular dissociation. There is no association between the atria and the ventricular contraction. So P, QRS, T, P, QRS, and T. Okay, so this is your third degree heart block. But P waves are present because atrial muscles are fine. So heart block का मतलब है, junctional block का मतलब है AV waves, right? Now second is your atrial tachyarrhythmias. Okay, atrial tachyarrhythmias. Or junctional tachyarrhythmias. Now, junctional tachyarrhythmias occur in presence of accessory pathway. The accessory pathway can be present inside the node or outside the AV node. Inside the node is seen in cases of Lown-Ganong-Levine syndrome. The outside AV node pathway is an accessory pathway, an aberrant pathway, which is present in some patients, is Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. The bundle is known as bundle of Kent. In WPW syndrome, we call it as a bundle of Kent. Now, what do you find in ECG in WPW? ये एक बहुत अच्छा question है आपके लिए, MCQ question है. They do ask this. So there is a mnemonic for this. WPW को WPW से याद कर लो. W for wave. So there is a special wave which is known as delta wave. P is for short PR interval. Tachyarrhythmia है ना, junctional arrhythmia. Junctional arrhythmia मतलब AV node का arrhythmia, AV node का fast conduction. AV node is giving rise to PR interval. When AV node goes into fast conduction, it leads to shortened PR interval. So short PR interval and then wide QRS. W for wide QRS. So delta wave, short PR interval, wide QRS is pathognomonic of WPW syndrome. Okay. Now what is happening here is, ये भी मैं आपको उसी पे बताती हूँ, उसी पे ही समझ में आएगा. वेंट्रिकुलर जंक्शनल टैक्यरिथमियास. अभी तक सब क्लियर है सबको? टायर्ड तो नहीं हो? डिनर टाइम हो गया है. 10 मिनट्स और दे दो. These are the only notes I have made on Microsoft. और इतना प्रॉब्लम दे रहे हैं. Okay. Again, SA node is fine. AV node is fine. The bundle of his and everything is fine. What happens is there is an aberrant pathway. So हम मान लेते हैं कि WPW syndrome है, ये bundle of Kent है, right? The SA node fires, gives rise to atrial depolarization, leads to formation of P waves. So P wave is formed, normal P wave बन गया, correct? Now this current, some of the atrial muscles current is passing across the bundle of Kent and some of the current is passing across the AV node. Normal pathway. This is the normal pathway. This is the aberrant pathway. And this is extranodal. Extranodal matlab outside the AV node. So bundle of Kent is outside the AV node. Levine syndrome occurs because of the intranodal pathway, intranodal scarring tissue or pathway, right? Channelopathies. So what happens is, because of this aberrant pathway, normally AV node has a property of delaying, slowing down. But this aberrant pathway doesn't have that property. So WPW syndrome, if patients consume, they go into strenuous exercise all of a sudden, or they consume too much of caffeine, this bundle of Kent can carry more current than usual. When that happens, what happens? When that happens, if this is the AV node, this is the bundle of Kent, and this is the current coming from the atria. Some current is coming around the AV node or through the AV node. Some current is coming through the bundle of Kent. This current is a faster current. This is a slow current. So when this bundle of Kent current reaches here, it finds some of the tissues excitable. It excites these tissues. Again, a current gets formed. It comes here. Still no repolarization. Again, excitable tissue. This leads to re-entrant pathway. This is all happening around the AV node. And what does it lead to? It leads to firing small depolarization currents into the bundle of His. Right. Now what happens is, because bundle of His, the first thing it depolarizes to lead to formation of Q wave was a septal depolarization, right? Here the septal depolarization is not very effective. It is not able to give rise to a negative deflection. Instead, it gives rise to something known as a delta wave. Right, वो मैं आपको इसी में दिखा देती हूँ. Something known as delta wave. Can you see here? The delta wave is an abnormal S wave. It is upsloping of the PR interval to the R wave. Shortened PR interval. PR interval short क्यों हो गया? Because bundle of Kent is faster than the normal AV node. So normal AV node का delay है वो कम हो गया. Bundle of Kent is faster. So PR interval gets shortened. In case of Levine syndrome, as well as in case of WPW syndrome, there is delta wave formation because the septal depolarization is not very effective. Q wave doesn't get formed. There is a delta wave instead. This waveform looks like a delta wave, upsloping of the PR interval to the R wave, and then the S and T are normal. अब जो current आया वो ठीक है. Okay? Because of this upsloping, the QRS also becomes widened, right? So we have, what do we have here? We have short PR interval, we have delta wave, and we have widened QRS. Now you can remember, now you know how these are formed. Short PR interval, delta wave, and wide QRS. In LGL syndrome, because it is an intranodal aberrant pathway, delta wave doesn't get formed क्योंकि outside वाला pathway नहीं, intranodal ही है. So it is just that the intranodal or the aberrant pathway inside the AV node leads to more or faster conduction of the current to the ventricle. So what happens is just the PR interval gets shortened. There is no delta wave. इसने क्या किया कि abnormal pathway है which is usually faster than the normal AV node. So उसके delay को कम कर दिया. So PR interval short हो गया. That's it. So intranodal aberrant pathway is your LGL syndrome. Extranodal pathway is your WPW syndrome. The mnemonic for WPW syndrome ECG findings is WPW only, which is delta wave, then your PR interval shortened, and then widened QRS. And you know the reason now. Okay. Now, what happens if the ectopic foci are present in the ventricular wave, in the ventricular muscles or ventricular wall? Do you want me to cover the ventricular arrhythmias tomorrow? If this is too much for you, let me know. We can start with ventricular arrhythmias tomorrow, and then we can move on to our ECG atlas. ठीक है, हम कल करते हैं, हम ventricular arrhythmias को कल start करते हैं. But do tell me honestly, did you understand how the waveforms are formed? Which waveform corresponds to what? And why junctional arrhythmias are more concerned with PR intervals? Did you get the point? The basics. I tried my best to simplify it for you guys. I understood ECG like this only. ऐसे ही समझ में आया था. So सी मेरा वो माइंडसेट नहीं है कि मैं बस याद कर लूं कि हाइपोकिनेमिया प्रोमिनेंट यू वेव्स और डिजिटालिस इफेक्ट में ये वाला साइन आ जाएगा. दिस वन वी डू मेमोराइज, वी डू नीड टू मेमोराइज दो साइंस एंड एवरीथिंग, बट एटलीस्ट ये थोड़ा सा बेसिक्स हमें पता होना चाहिए कि हाउ एरिथमियाज आर हैपनिंग, व्हाट इज एक्चुअली मेंट बाय जंक्शनल एरिथमिया. जंक्शन का मतलब ही क्या है ना? व्हाई ओनली पीआर इंटरवल्स आर गेटिंग अफेक्टेड इन जंक्शनल एरिथमियाज? व्हाई T waves are getting affected in atrial arrhythmias like atrial flutter and atrial fibrillation and not in ventricular fibrillation? So we should be aware of these particular basics, है ना? So okay, great. I hope you understood this. If you want, we can revise this a little bit tomorrow and then move on to ventricular arrhythmias and then move on to our ECG atlas. Okay, I'm not in a hurry at all. तो जब तक समझ में नहीं आएगा, you let me know. ठीक है? So let's go ahead with our class tomorrow again at the same time, 6:30 p.m. I got the timing for tomorrow also changed today only. Dr. Parth, today we don't have any questions. I wanted to ask you questions on the ECG Atlas only. But since we are doing that tomorrow, so I'll be asking you tomorrow. Okay? All right. Okay. All the best, guys, and go through this PDF today. Okay, go through arrhythmias and the normal ECG waveforms and patterns. Okay, bye-bye. Good night.